What is going on, my Digimon friends? It's been a while since I've uploaded a video. The main reason why I chose to build Blast Mode was because he was such a sick Digimon in Digimon Tamers, as that's my favorite franchise of all time, hence why I love Digimon a lot too. And yeah, not only that, the playstyle of this deck is actually really fun. You hard mode your deck and you get rewarded by having cards that have an on-mill effect. And the best part about this deck is, or just this Digimon, Beelzemon in general, is I love it how Impmon started as being such a wimp into him turning into such a badass in the show. And yeah, that just brings back a lot of memories. It's very nostalgic. Let's get right into the deck profile. So let's start off easy with the eggs. I run 4 copies of the starter Pagumons and a copy of the BTO2 Pagumons. I love the starter Pagumons as when inherit, when it's destroyed, it can mill me 2 cards. My playstyle of this deck is just to hard mill my deck as much as possible so that I'll be able to mill into cards that procs the effects when being milled. And I like this card as well, as when you attack, you mill 1, so you can hopefully trigger an effect when you mill the card from your deck. And yeah, just 4-1, as I prefer it being destroyed and then mill 2 rather than just attacking mill 1. This is it for the eggs, and I'm just gonna go right into the rookies. So these are the rookies that I run. I run 4 copies of the EX02, 4 copies of the BTO6, and 4 copies of the BTO2. Let's talk about the very new one first. So the Impmon skill is when this card is milled by any effect except its own, you get to mill up to 3 more cards, so it accelerates my milling power a bit more. And its other skill is when it's unplayed, I get check top 4, look for Beelzemon, and look for an Iron Mako. And the skill and its inherent is if this Digimon is a Beelzemon, it gains 3k, which comes in very handy, as your Beelzemons don't really have much power to begin with, so having this as inherent while evolving into Beelzemon is really nice. And yeah, Impmon, the BTO6 one, that just helps me to grab Beelzemons or any 7 Demon Lords from my trash to my hand by discarding a card. But it's only an on-play effect, so it's actually alright. But don't worry, that won't be an issue in this deck. And last but not least, you've got the BTO2, the OG Impmon. Its skill is when it's destroyed, you mill 3 cards. Just helps me mill more of my deck. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go right into champion. So this is my champion lineup. I run 4 copies of the EX02 Digimons, 4 copies of the BTO8 Bakemons, and 2 copies of the BTO7 Loimons. I run 4 copies of Digimons as it helps me mill 3 cards when it's deleted, and it can fetch me any purple Digimon or purple Tamer from my trash to my hand. But unfortunately, I don't run Alice McCoy, so I don't have that reduction memory to on play. And Bakemon is just if you just mill a card from your deck this turn, or if you mill the card this turn, you get 1 memory, which comes in very handy in this deck. And you got that Loimon for the extra finisher, just in case if you don't really need to tap all your Tamers for the milling effect, or Iron Mako to be specific. And yeah, it comes in very handy. It's a very good finisher, as sometimes Blast Mode's not going to be able to finish the game, or you just have that 1 attacker left and you got extra memory. Playing the Loimon will really come in handy. I used to run blockers like Valmons and Devimons, but I didn't really like blockers, as this deck's very aggro, it's very quick, it mills really fast. So running defensives in this deck, running blockers is not worth it in this deck, in my opinion. And yeah, this is all for my champions. I'm going to move on to the ultimates. Yep, as you guys can see on the screen, this is my ultimate lineup. Yep, I only run 4 Skull Satamons because I don't really need other ultimates. I did try running the BT05 or Black War Groundmon. I didn't really like it because of how slow it is, how cloggy it is. I get it that you can like kill your own Digimon and then it reactives, which is cool, which is nice, but I just don't really like it. I prefer seeing Skull Satamons all the time. And Skull Satamon skill, when it evo, you mill 2 cards, and then you fetch a Demon Lord from your trash to your hand, and its inherit skill, if you mill the card during the turn, you gain 1 memory. Which pairs up really well with the Bakemon that I mentioned earlier. So if you have the Megas that I'm going to be showing you later, and by having Iron Makos to just mill a card, you basically just gain 2 memory for free if you have all of them inherited together. And yeah, that's it for Skull Salamons. I mean, my ultimates, and I'm going to move on right to the megas. Okay, this mega lineup is normal, is very standard until you see this Lilithmon. And you may wonder, why am I running Lilithmon in this deck? But before I answer that question, I would just want to showcase the Beelzemons, man. They're just so sexy. And the EX02 Beelzemon is actually a very, very good card, as I don't see enough people running this card. I don't know why. People just don't want to run this, and they just prefer running the BTO2 Secret Beelzemon. I love this card, but this card just helps the deck even more. It just does so much for the deck, but people just don't really see it. So what it does is, if this card got milled by an effect, you get to play an Impmon from your trash to your field. Like I said earlier, for the EX02s and the BTO6 Impmon, they have an on-play ability. So if you milled this Beelzemon by any chance with any effects, you get to on-play them and just proc their on-play effects as well. So its other skill is when you evo and when you attack, you get to mill 2 cards from your deck, and you kill a level 3 or less Digimon. I mean, your opponents, of course. And for every 10 cards in your trash, you get to increase that level by 1. So yeah, it's a very, very good effect. And the BTO2 Secret Beelzemon just helps you warp Digivolve from an Impmon. So these two pair up really well. But I only run 2 copies of this, as it's quite bricky. If you see this early, it's quite bricky at the start. So I prefer seeing Beelzemon, as I'm evoing onto... I'm evoing like straight up rather than just like cheat coding and just warp Digivolve. And yep, let's get right back into the Lilithmons. The reason why I run Lilithmon in this deck is because I run Jack raids, as this deck mills a lot, so I will always have 10 or more cards in my trash. And with the Skull Salamons, to be able to fetch back any Demon Lord cards, as Lilithmon has Demon Lord in her trait, so therefore she's a viable target. And let's say that I don't have Skull Salamons to fetch it back, I can just use Dobemon to be just fetch me back Lilithmon. But I ultimately only run 1, just because it's like an emergency Mega Evo, just to help myself get more memory and control the board a little bit better. And yeah, this is my Mega lineup, and I'm gonna go to the level 7s. And here are my level 7s. They're just Beelzemon Blast modes. One's the alt art, and 2 of them's the regular art. I mean, if you guys have watched my pack opening video, you guys will know that I freaked out when I pulled this card, because it Blast mode alt art. Who wouldn't be? You know, like, God. Yeah, anyways, what it does is, if this card gets milled by an effect, you get to kill a level 4 or less Digimon of your opponents, which is a very, really good skill, because level 4 essentially means any rookies or champions or just blockers, like, because a lot of people will just play champion blockers. Like, there are very rare decks that plays ultimate to mega blockers, unless if you're playing against Black or Rebellionmon. And its other skills, when it's Evo, you get to kill all Digimons that has the highest level. So by having effects that kills levels, you get to pinpoint target on which levels you want to kill first, and then Evo onto Beelzemon Blast mode to be able to just kill the remaining levels. So you basically board wipe them within 1 turn. And its other skill is, during your turn, for every 10 cards in your trash, you get to get a security +1. Yep, for every 10 cards in trash. So let's say that if your trash is 20 cards, it gets 2 security. It's just that easy. And yeah, this card is just playing out really good. That's the whole point of me playing this deck, is that the Blast mode just does so much for just 1 card. And yeah, it's 6 cost to Evo, right? But with the Tamer, Mako, as I'll tell you guys the skill about it later. I mean, I assume that you guys already know, but I'll just tell you guys anyways. So I'm gonna go right onto the Tamer. So this is the MVP, or the star of the deck, Mako's. It's a memory resetter as well. But their other skill is, when your Digimon attacks, you get to tap this Tamer, and you mill a card from your deck. And if the attacking Digimon is a Beelzemon, you get to mode change from your Beelzemon into Beelzemon Blast mode from your trash by paying 3 memory. So it basically reduces the cost to Evo by 3. That's really, really good. especially how the way how this deck gains memory back by milling cards on its own. It just sets up that, like, it just sets up and it just finishes games. It just does so much within one turn. And yeah, this deck is very threatening. Iron Makos just make it so much easier, and decks like, or the Impmons, just everything in general just revolves around this card. Iron Makos are just they just are irreplaceable in this deck. And yeah, anyways, that's it for my tamers. I only run Iron Makos. There's nothing else for me to run, and I'm just gonna go right into the options. So yeah, I run 10 options in this deck: 4 Death Slingers, 3 Jack Rates, and 3 Missed Memory Boosts. I love the Death Slingers' effect because if it's milled by an effect, it gains 1 memory straight up, and then its main effect is I kill level 4 or less Digimon, and for every 10 cards in my trash, that level increases by 1. So it's basically the same thing as the same skill as Beelzemon, EX02, but it's just a level higher, and its security effect is basically the main effect, but that's basically enough. It's enough for me to just delete my opponent on the spot. And Jack Rates just be able to get memory, as I will always have 10 cards or more in trash, so I guarantee always get 1 memory for every cast. And Missed Memory Boost, this helps me boost that milling, and it draws me a card, and it also gives me 2 memory in the next turn too. So yeah, overall, this option lineup is what I really am comfortable with. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning into my Beelzemon Blast Mode deck profile. I really enjoyed building this deck and playing this deck. Although this deck cost me a lot of money, but I don't care, man. It's Tamers and it's Beelzemon, the main boy, one of the most well-treated boy in the whole Digimon franchise. And yeah, I'll be uploading more deck profiles soon, and as you guys can see on the playmat, I will have a Crimson Mode deck profile coming up. But the main reason why I did Beelzemon Blast Mode first was the views that I got on my channel by having Blast Mode. 300 something views within like 4 or 5 days. That's insane. I've never pulled that numbers off. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. I'll be doing more deck profiles as much as I can and as soon as I can. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my channel. It'll mean a lot if you guys could subscribe and like my videos, and even comment down on what you guys think of deck list, and maybe even comment down on how to improve it. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my video, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye.